the NASDAQ composite adding 403 now. More on these stories at townhall.com. I'm John Scott.
The following is an America Matters media production. The views expressed do not necessarily represent those of the station or its advertisers, although we think they should. But that's the opinion of America Matters Media.
Vote for me and I'll set you free.
Freedom is just another word for nothing left to lose. Come together right now over me.
All right, folks, you certainly know what that theme song means by now. That's right. It's time for another episode of America Matters. I'm your host, Leo Zacky, with Eddie Floyd and Chandler Lawson. It is Thursday, April 24th. It's 12:05 p.m. That means we're live. I hope you guys enjoyed that first hour with the...
Oh, God, we did. And I tell you what, I sure hate following those three beautiful women, Leo, but somebody's got to.
Well, it's nice to have ladies leading the way on that one.
Amen, amen.
I hope everybody enjoyed that show.
I tell you what, I'm going to love this show because you and I now get to talk back and forth to one another. I'd like to talk about China trade, and I want you to lead us off, Leo.
Yeah, sure. Well, before we do that, I just wanted to give a big shout out, hello, welcome, and thank you to everybody out there on 93.7 KPGF, as well as AM 1060, and all the folks out there that make it possible for those listening out there on America, Radio for America, AUN Television, the Salem Network, and the Answer Network, and the Kevin Jackson Network. So thank you to those who make it happen, and thank you to all of you tuning in on those platforms. Don't forget, you can always watch the program on America Matters Media's Facebook page or LinkedIn page, where you can comment on the show. You can also do that as well on Zacky Radio, on YouTube, or Rumble. So Get involved, and don't forget, you can always text in at 775-384-4444. So now, getting over to the U.S. strategy in China trade, what's going on there is China's Ministry of Commerce has confirmed that there are no ongoing trade negotiations with the United States, and has demanded removal of all U.S. imposed tariffs before any talks can commence.
Whoa. Now, President Trump has made it clear the United States is open to negotiations, but we are not going to the table from a position of weakness. This is about defending American interests and making sure we, meaning the taxpayers, get a fair deal.
Exactly, Eddie. You know, these tariffs, well, they're leveraged, and they're part of a broader strategy to push back against years of unfair trade practices, intellectual property theft, and massive trade imbalances.
Amen. Now, and let's be honest, Leo, it's about time someone stood up like Donald John Trump and said, hey, we're not playing by the rules that hurt the United States workers and industries. The administration is making it clear we're not backing down just because another country doesn't like the heat.
That's right. I love that. And China's messaging is calling for sincerity. You know, it's interesting, you know, but from a U.S. perspective, sincerity means coming to the table, you know, being ready to make real changes,
right,
not just cosmetic ones.
Amen. And while China warns that tensions could affect global trust, that's important, sure, but trust in the global economy also depends on fairness, transparency, and accountability. You don't build trust by ignoring those violations they have created.
Absolutely. And that's a key point, Eddie. You know, the U.S. isn't about to blow up trade. We're trying to rebalance it. Excuse me. We have to create an environment where American innovation, American labor, and American businesses aren't being undercut like they currently are.
Amen. And this isn't isolationism, it's assertiveness. It's saying, hey, we'll trade, but it has to be on fair and reciprocal terms.
Absolutely. So what's next? I mean, the ball is clearly in China's court, and the U.S. has put out the message that we're ready to talk, but not at any cost. You know why? Because we're not desperate.
Right.
We're not desperate. And we're building out our own American economy again, our own American manufacturing. We have to focus on that because Americans need jobs here in America. And we have
Amen.
to incentivize that. So if China wants to play ball, stop, infringing on our IP, our intellectual property, like we mentioned, and actually hold their crooked companies accountable, then sounds like we have room to sit down and talk.
Yeah, we do.
But look, in the meantime, American businesses should stay alert. Stay confident, but alert. This is a shift, and one that's about building long-term strength and not chasing short-term details. And that's another big thing. Is so many people are so about instant gratification, right? Nowadays, especially the younger generation. It's all about right now. Okay, well, you got to have the long-term plan here because China's been playing the long-term game forever. China, think about it. China's been around for over 5,000 years, if you really think about it.
Yep.
In one shape or another, They've been around for a very, very long time. So when it comes to the long game, they've got that one nailed down. And the way that they've been fighting against America, it's been death by 1,000 cuts. That's their motto for it. So it's time for us to stop taking those lashings or those cuts, and it's time for us to actually push back because we've just been taking it, and we don't need to do that anymore.
Amen.
With Americans getting incentivized via the tariffs to produce here, the opportunities grow here, the IP stays here, and the technology grows here, which puts us in an advantage because then China doesn't have that opportunity to go ahead and steal it. I mean, they'll try. The fact that there's even Chinese secret police stations in this country is a slap in the face. I mean, that's another thing I wish would be discussed as a part of this trade deal. I don't even know why we're even allowing them. I mean, it's a foreign entity essentially operating in the United States. I don't know why we haven't cleared those out. Donald Trump, hello, are you listening? Get rid of those secret police stations. Get rid of those Chinese spy networks. Let me know why we have a Chinese biolab, essentially a makeshift biolab in the Central Valley in California.
Wow.
Why is that happening?
Yeah. And do it
heard
today.
about that bust, right? And they had like all sorts of crazy viruses and stuff in there.
Right.
So, but this is the stuff we can't forget about. So there's a lot more than just the trade stuff that we have to worry about when going to the table with China and holding them accountable because there are so many things that they've been screwing us over on.
Amen.
And enough's enough. So the good news is Donald Trump's our fighter. He's here to fight for we the people. I want to see it transpire. So with that, we're going to take our first break here in America Matters. I'm Leo Zacky with Eddie Floyd, Shannon Lawson. We'll be right back.
At A Proper Fit Footwear in the Reno Town Mall, we've been accomplishing happy feet for over 30 years.
We offer a various range of shoe styles and sizes for both men and women. From all-season shoes and orthotics to work boots and safety shoes, our professional and reliable staff possesses the knowledge to help you find the proper shoes to fit your needs. Hard to fit? Hard to find?
A Proper Fit Footwear is here to give our customers happy feet. We make people aware of potential foot problems as we're sizing their feet, suggesting the right arch support, and guiding them to the proper shoes for their needs.
Stop by A Proper Fit Footwear at 4001 South Virginia Street in the Reno Town Mall today, and allow the owner Mike Jones and our fabulous staff to find the perfect pair of shoes tailored to your specific needs.
A Proper Fit Footwear in the Reno Town Mall, the home of happy feet, where comfort and your feet meet.
Families of deceased and cremated veterans can apply to receive commemorative plaques or urns from VA if they do not want to inter their loved ones in a VA national cemetery or receive a government-furnished headstone marker or medallion for placement in any cemetery. Commemorative urns are used to hold the remains of a deceased cremated veteran, and commemorative plaques are designed to hang on a wall. If a family chooses a plaque or an urn, VA is prohibited by law from interring that veteran's remains in a VA national cemetery or from providing a headstone marker or or medallion for placement in any cemetery. To be eligible, the veteran must have served in the armed forces on or after April 6, 1917, and must be eligible for a headstone or marker under 38 U.S.C. 2306D, and the veteran's remains must have been cremated with no portion of the remains interred at any location. For more information about the NCA memorial options, go to the VA website or contact David Otler, a NV Veterans Advocate with Walton's Funeral and Cremation, 775-843-1901.
Want to expand your advertising dollar? Sponsor this or any America Matters program by calling 775-827-8900, extension 2. Now back to the show.
All right, we are back to the America Matters with Leo Zacky, who is a gubernatorial candidate and will be the next governor of California. Leo, this next topic actually made me sick to my stomach, and I know I'll crucify his name, but we're talking about California granted early release to an illegal immigrant, Oscar Eduardo Ortega Aguiliano, a twice deported, undocumented immigrant who was convicted of a tragic DUI case that took the lives of 2 American teenagers in Canada. Now he's set to be released from prison. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, well, this happened just down the street from me here in California. Oscar Eduardo Ortega Anguiano. I hope I said that right. But whatever, he's a jerk. Clearly, he's a bad person. I mean, they're going to release this guy. He's twice deported. Think about it. Twice deported. That's a problem, folks. That's a big problem.
Amen.
This guy, he was driving under the influence of both alcohol and drugs here legally, going nearly 100 miles an hour on the 405. And I mean, not that that's not customary here in California. No, hundreds definitely on the fast end. I don't recommend. But he's high on drugs. He's drunk on alcohol. He's here illegally. He's speeding. He's like really speeding. I mean, 100 is that's where you get into the reckless zone. And he's on the 405, and he's in Seal Beach, and he crashes into a car carrying 2 19-year-old girls, Anya I'm going to butcher this, Varfolomev and Nikolai Osokin.
Right.
So it's hard to read those names, but that's what they are. So this drunk, high on whatever, who knows, illegal immigrant, because he already cares about this, and respects his country's laws so much, he broke into it twice.
Right.
Hits these 2 teens, and the car bursts into flames, and it kills them both instantly. And Ortega Anguiano was arrested and later pled guilty to 2 counts of gross vehicular manslaughter while intoxicated, sentenced to 10 years in prison. Just 10.
10 years. That's amazing. It'd be life without here in Nevada.
And due to California's sentencing policies, including time served, credits for time served and participation in rehab programs and all this nonsense, guess what? This guy's scheduled for an early release in July of this year.
Wow.
Only serving 3.5 years. Killed 2 people, American citizens, teenagers, 19, prime of life, because he's high and he's drunk and he's speeding and he doesn't care about the laws and he doesn't care about anything because he's here illegally.
Right.
And he's getting out after 3.5 years. So the victims' families, particularly Anya's father, is expressing, that he's feeling betrayed by the justice system, and rightfully so. And Orange County District Attorney Todd Spitzer criticizes California's classification on the crime as "quote unquote" nonviolent, which allows inmates to earn early release credits. The Trump administration, right? So the Trump administration officials and current federal prosecutors filed immigration charges against Ortega Anguiano under U.S. Code 8, Section 1326. Reentry by a previously deported immigrant is a felony, and that could carry up to 20 years in prison. So ICE has also issued a detainer And their plan is to take custody of Ortega Anguiano and immediately upon his release and proceed with the deportation. But despite California being a sanctuary state officials have stated they will honor the ICE detainer in this case. So it takes two kids, basically, very young adults, to get killed in a totally avoidable DUI wreck by a two-time border crossing offender.
Illegal.
Yeah. For California to say, okay, ICE, you can take this one.
What?
Right?
Unbelievable.
So Senate Minority Leader here, Brian Jones, introduced Senate Bill 554, which would mandate cooperation between local law enforcement and ICE in cases involving undocumented immigrants convicted of serious crimes. And so Ortega Anguiano's release date is set for the day before my birthday, July 19th. And so the legal battles, the federal charges and policy reforms in this case has sparked and will continue to unfold in the months ahead. So
wow.
One thing's for sure, this guy, if he's not instantly, handed over to ICE and deported, I can guarantee you what he's going to be doing as soon as he gets out.
Yep.
He's going to be drinking and driving and doing drugs all over again.
Once again, he'll be a nemesis to the entire society. I want to talk about another crisis, one that unfolded not in secret, but in plain sight inside the jails of Riverside County, California, from 20 to 2023. Riverside jails recorded the highest homicide rate among large jails in the entire state and the second deadliest jail system in the entire country.
Well, what went wrong? Who's accountable? And what happens next? Well, we're going to tell you. So, an incident in which an inmate was thrown over a catwalk occurred on January 12th, 2023, at the Southwest Detention Center in French Valley in Riverside County, California. The victim, Mark Spratt, was allegedly killed by his cellmate, Mikey Rodney Payne, who reportedly dragged his cellmate out, hoisted him over his shoulder, and threw him 15 feet off a catwalk.
Whoa.
He landed with a sickening crash on a metal table below. The Riverside County Sheriff's Department described the murder as racially motivated, noting that Payne had previously complained about being housed with Spratt because, well, he was a white man.
Oh, Jesus.
So, and
keyword was man. He was a man, not white man, not black man, not yellow man. He was a man who was murdered.
Right. But like I said, it was apparently racially motivated because he was a white man. So,
right.
Anyways, it was his first day in jail and wound up being his last.
Wow.
So, but here's the thing. This wasn't an isolated incident. So from 2020 to 2023, 6 homicides occurred behind these bars, each one linked to security lapses and policy violations. And it doesn't end there. In 2022 alone, 19 detainees died from homicide, suicide, overdoses, and natural causes during this time.
Yeah.
And one of these incidences occurred when a guard initiated a security check more than 90 minutes late. And upon arrival, the guard discovered blood pooling under a cell door and an inmate wiping the walls inside the cell with the inmates, just disgusting. Inside the cell with the inmates, beaten and stabbed body without a pulse, just wiping the walls with blood. It's disgusting.
Unbelievable.
So these tragic events were part of a series of incidents that contributed to Riverside County jails having the highest rate of homicide among large jails in California from 2020 to 2023. And at the center of the storm, well, it's Sheriff Chad Bianco. Bianco, cut training requirements for guards, contributing to the rise in violence and deaths. The California Department of Justice is now investigating Riverside County's jail system, But meanwhile, the county has already paid over $13.3 million in
Whoa.
wrongful death lawsuits, things that are completely avoidable, but lack of leadership, lack of training leads to wasteful spending and loss of life. Even though they're criminals, it's still death that they didn't deserve.
That's right.
The evidence paints a disturbing picture. A jail system that's undertrained, understaffed, and underchecked, and a system where lives are lost and no one seems to be held accountable. Killing in U.S. jails are still rare, but in Riverside County, guess what? They're becoming tragically routine.
Oh,
These deaths expose not just local failures, but national ones. Questions about how we train guards, how we protect vulnerable inmates, and how far we've let our justice system slip into something else entirely. Leadership is always going to be where the buck stops. And as the sheriff of Riverside County, Chad Bianco has not taken responsibility for this, and this has all happened under his watch. Wasteful spending, unnecessary inmate deaths, and a ballooning of his county's sheriff's department's funding. Since he's been elected, his county alone, his sheriff's department, has had their sheriff's department budget increase by over 5 times. His budget is over $1 billion, and he is the highest paid sheriff in California, if not the nation. He earns around $600,000 a year, more than the president, and he's having this level of failure in his own department. These are serious questions. These are real facts, and somebody needs to be held accountable.
absolutely.
You don't hear about this stuff happening. I mean, look, everybody.
No.
What's a famous sheriff that we all knew a few years ago? Sheriff Joe Arpaio.
That's right.
He didn't earn that much money. He ran a really tight ship. He had one of the lowest funded departments, and he made sure that his inmates, well, it cost less to feed them daily than it did the guard dogs.
That's right. Absolutely.
So why can't that level of sheriffing be replicated in Riverside County? Why does it take so much money for so poor results? I don't understand.
Yep.
Well, I find that all very interesting. A ballooning budget, a lot of lack of, and the man never takes responsibility. Just like when he took a knee for BLM in 2020, and he lied and said that he was kneeling to pray. Just like when he lied about a man trying to assassinate the president, Van Miller. These are all very concerning things from a man who thinks he could be the next governor of California.
Amazing.
So
If he gets one single vote, then his wife doesn't know what she's doing.
well, unfortunately, there's a lot of other things out there, and I encourage folks to learn more about the real truth behind who Chad Bianco is. But we're going to take our bottom of the hour break here on America Matters. I'm Leo Zacky with Eddie Floyd, Shannon Lawson. We'll be right back.
At A Proper Fit Footwear in the Reno Town Mall, we've been accomplishing happy feet for over 30 years.
We offer a various range of shoe styles and sizes for both men and women. From all-season shoes and orthotics to work boots and safety shoes, our professional and reliable staff possesses the knowledge to help you find the proper shoes to fit your needs. Hard to fit? Hard to find?
A Proper Fit Footwear is here to give our customers happy feet. We make people aware of potential foot problems as we're sizing their feet, suggesting the right arch support, and guiding them to the proper shoes for their needs.
Stop by A Proper Fit Footwear at 4001 South Virginia Street in the Reno Town Mall today, and allow the owner Mike Jones and our fabulous staff to find the perfect pair of shoes tailored to your specific needs.
A Proper Fit Footwear in the Reno Town Mall, the home of happy feet, where comfort and your feet meet.
Ugh, I'm so over this. I diet, I work out, and the scale won't budge.
I hear you. Nothing's more discouraging than doing all that work and seeing no result.
I just don't get it. I'm eating healthy, hitting the gym. What's your secret?
Honestly, I was in the same boat until I found Active Life Integrated Health.
Wait, what's different about them?
It's a natural weight loss approach. Dr. Tom and his team help with appetite suppression, energy boosts, hormone balancing, and the FM diet, it's not about starving yourself or exhausting workouts. It's about resetting your body to burn fat the right way.
I'm Dr. Waldorf, chiropractic physician at Active Life Integrated Health, where our natural approach helps you lose weight safely and effectively without extreme dieting or chemicals. Call 775-842-0065 today to schedule your complimentary consultation. Also, the first 25 callers who mention promo code Health Matters will receive 10% off of your treatment program. So call 775-842-0065 to boost your energy and start losing weight today.
Unable to listen to the whole show? A recording of today's program will be available later today. Visit americamatters.us and click on the podcast link. Now back to the show.
All right, folks, we are back with America Matters. I'm Leo Zacky with Eddie Floyd and Shannon Lawson. And Eddie, I wanted to get over to some text while we can.
We had a text come in from Brian Alterman, and Brian Alterman lives in Susanville, and he said, if you only knew half of the problems that were faced in prison, you would be amazed. There's a lot more that's being reported in the news, and I guarantee you our biggest problem right now is the sheriff that you mentioned a little while ago.
Oh, it's a shame. It's a shame that that's the case, but unfortunately is what it is. I'm glad you brought that up there, Brian. Thanks for reaching out to us. You have any other texts there, Eddie?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I do have one. But of course, it's from our friend in Savannah, Georgia. Bubba writes in, and he said, Leo, every time you and Eddie do a show together, I am more and more convinced if I have to hitchhike to California to help you and to be a bodyguard, I intend to do that.
Well, you better get that thumb ready.
That's right.
Looking forward to seeing you out here, Bubba.
Yeah,
you guys talk to Bubba every day, huh?
Yeah, he's dead serious, by the way.
I don't doubt it.
Yeah.
I don't doubt it.
Yeah. He, like I said, here's a guy who was actually a bodyguard for Herschel Walker at one time when he was running for office. You know?
That's awesome.
Yeah. So he's got some credentials behind him that I think are pretty good ones, you know?
Cool. All right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, Bubba, appreciate that offer. I'm taking you up on it.
There you go. Start thumbing. Get that thumb out, Bubba, and I'll pick you up as soon as you hit the Nevada border. Okay? And I'll head you across over to see Mr. Zacky, the governor of California. By the time you get here, Leo, I got to share something with you that is a question, and it comes from, and I love this because it comes from Cheryl, and as you know, Cheryl works in our governor's office. Okay, and she says, if there's one segment that I love you now doing, it's a segment on ladies in politics. I wish our governor would do the same. And I do have a suggestion for Leo. He's got to be able to get his hands on women who own businesses and send out a letter to each and every one of them to let them know how important they are to him and his campaign, because I think the women are going to carry the vote for Leo Zacky because of what he's doing and how much he cares for the women.
Well, I appreciate that. And, women-owned businesses definitely has a very special place in my heart because our family business, Zacky Farms, after my grandfather had passed, wound up being a woman-owned business by my grandmother. And we actually, on our business cards, had a little thing showing that it was a woman-owned business. And it was something that, we had a little bit of, benefits from. I'm trying to find an old card of mine. Do I have one? I do. Look at that. I sure as heck do. So here's an old business card of mine. And as you can see, it's got that NWBOC, National Women Business Owned Certified. And there's a certification number and everything right there for it. And you can see there's my title. It says Vice President on there. That's that's the office I used to work out of there at Crossroads Parkway, and the old phone number. So, that's my old business card. So when you talk about women-owned businesses, that means something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was not expecting that to come in. I just coincidentally have a couple of old business cards of mine sitting there. Just
Right.
I keep them there to remind me about where I was and why I'm doing this. So
Yeah,
you
and I don't blame you, but I do like the part like those women, those 36 women in Sierraville who want you to come speak at their event. Okay, all 36 of them intend on endorsing Leo Zacky for governor, and they're going to get every female friend they have that owns a business to do the same thing, Leo.
I love that. I think it's great. I think anybody who goes and starts a business, man or woman, but that it's a very important thing to do because it gives you that level of independence to create your own wealth. The only barriers right now here are the ones in California, the artificial ones, the high taxes, the high minimum wage, the arbitrary rules and regulations that you have to apply by, and of course the hyperinflated just rents because of the property tax and all the other regulatory processes that go into here in California that make things so difficult. Speaking of women-owned businesses, Pineapple Hill Saloon owner is a woman, and she is really fantastic, a real good grassroots patriot. Love going to her place, love getting their burger, hanging out, having a couple beers. Good people always going through there. That's down there in Sherman Oaks. So make sure if you're in the Sherman Oaks area, pop in Pineapple Hill Saloon, give them some business.
Wow. I'm glad you said that. And by the way, I think that's a good idea if we just spend 20 seconds every show talking about a lady and her business that you get to know. Because I'm not kidding you, Leo. I'm the one getting emails all during the night and texts during the day about how many women are heading over to the Zacky camp and want to donate their time, effort, and in some cases money to make sure that Leo Zacky becomes the next governor of California.
I appreciate that. Everything helps. So don't think there's a dollar amount that's insignificant because every little bit helps. And if everybody gave a little bit, it'd be a whole lot of it by the end.
Amen.
So.
Amen. Let me ask you a question. Now, when we talk about your upcoming events, do we have an upcoming event that is anywhere near Reno that we could run over to, a group of us?
Well, I'll have all that stuff posted on the website, so you'll be able to go over there. We should have that all posted up there hopefully by tomorrow. But coming up in the immediate future that I am aware of, I'm literally looking at my calendar as we're doing this right now. Yeah, Santa Cruz ain't close. No, not at the moment. So if you do want to have me up there, you can always reach out at leozacky.com. We would love to come up and talk to your group.
But it's amazing how once the women start talking to one another, how many 36 can turn into in just a very short period of time, Leo.
Absolutely. Women are great marketers.
Yep.
So, but here, let's move on to our next topic here. So, I want to talk a little bit about what's going on with, the insider trading problem that we have with Congress.
Yeah, let's do that. Members of Congress are suspiciously, involved in stock trade. Is that what we're talking about, Leo?
Yes, it is. And, the big question is why are so many members of Congress, the very people that write our laws, allowed to trade stocks with, what looks like suspiciously insider knowledge? I mean, look what they like. It's crazy.
Does his name Pelosi ring a bell?
Certainly does. So I got a clip here that I want you guys to take a look at, and
all right, great.
You'll be surprised. Well,
look at how many members of Congress outperformed him, and not by 5%, not by 6 or 7 or 10, by 40, 50, 60, 70, up to 149% annual returns. Warren Buffett has been doing this for 60 years. He's never had a 149% year. He's never had 105%. He's never And meanwhile, we have half a dozen members of Congress buying stocks on their cell phones sporadically, outperforming the best year in the history of the best investor who's ever lived. It's like, we don't need Murder, She Wrote to crack this thing open. Clearly, they are cheating the system.
He hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
And by the way, I remember Trump saying that he's thinking about putting an end to that, and just so that they can't get involved in tradery.
Well, I think that should happen, but I mean, it's pretty wild. Think about this, because what's implied in that clip isn't just that some members of Congress are good investors. They're suspiciously way too good, consistently outperforming the best pros in the game. How is this legal?
Yeah, how can anybody beat Warren Buffett the way they're doing it? And it's just amazing. Well, number one, let's talk for a moment. Congress writes their own rules, Leo.
Yeah, well, they do write their own rules, and that's a big issue. But I mean, the fact that you have members of Congress that are making returns over 100%.
Good Lord.
100% in 1 year. New York Democrat Brian Higgins was among those to have triple-digit returns in in the fiscal year 23-24.
Right.
And these are not one-off events. Many lawmakers are consistently outperforming the S&P 500. So the Stock Act, Stop Trading on Congress Knowledge, STOCK, I love how they come up with these acronyms, passed in 2012, was designed to stop insider trading among lawmakers. But it requires members of Congress to publicly disclose the stock trades within 45 days. But it doesn't actually prohibit them from owning or trading individual stocks. And even in companies they regulate. So can't imagine where they're getting their insider information from.
Yeah.
So, crucially, there are a few real consequences for failing to disclose trades, and violations often result in just a very small fine because it's all a game. So technically, insider trading is illegal for Congress, but it's almost impossible to enforce without a clear-cut smoking gun, which is unfortunately very rare. So, I mean, let's be honest here. If the average person used private info from their job to make stock trades, they'd be facing a criminal investigation. So why isn't Congress being held to the same standard?
Right.
Well, as you mentioned, Eddie, they write their own rules. There's loopholes to enforcement. And there's a lot of apathy or self-interest that these lawmakers on both sides benefit from the current system.
Right.
So they're not inclined to want to reform it. And so why would they want to hurt their own potential income?
Yeah.
But the reality is the public sentiment is changing. And a recent poll showed that over 75% of Americans, Republicans and Democrats alike, support a ban on members of Congress owning or trading individual stocks.
Wow.
Multiple bills have been proposed, like Ban Congressional Stock Trading Act, but none have passed. I can't imagine why.
Yeah, you can. You don't have to imagine anything.
Right.
You know the answers, Leo. You've always known the answers.
It's too obvious.
Yeah, that's right.
But that's the level of corruption we're dealing with. This is
It
the
is.
problem. But Americans, this is what we voted against. But the corrupt politicians don't care because they don't care about you, and they don't care about your family. They don't care about your business. They're in it for them, and that's all they've ever been involved in it for.
Real quick, let me give you one last text before we go to our last break, okay? And this comes from Sydney, and Sydney lives in Salt Lake City, Utah, and Sydney writes in and says, "Aren't you two guys still worried that there could be another assassination attempt on Donald John Trump?" The answer, yeah, sure we are.
Yeah, but there's only been two that have been made public. A third one that was fabricated. I'm sure there's plenty of attempts. Like I'm sure people are putting poison in the mail, or crap like that, stuff that we don't hear about. But he's got really good security. I'm not worried. Now he's got good security, because
Yeah, I
he
agree.
all the shots with the security, not the Biden administration. So, anyways, we got to take our last break here on America Matters. I'm Leo Zacky with Eddie Floyd, Sam Lawson. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
I'm so over this. I diet, I work out, and the scale won't budge.
I hear you. Nothing's more discouraging than doing all that work and seeing no result.
I just don't get it. I'm eating healthy, hitting the gym. What's your secret?
Honestly, I was in the same boat until I found Active Life Integrated Health.
Wait, what's different about them?
It's a natural weight loss approach. Dr. Tom and his team help with appetite suppression, energy boosts, hormone balancing, and the FM diet. It's not about starving yourself or exhausting workouts. It's about resetting your body to burn fat the right way.
I'm Dr. Waldorf, chiropractic physician at Active Life Integrated Health, where our natural approach helps you lose weight safely and effectively without extreme dieting or chemicals. Call 775-842-0065 today to schedule your complimentary consultation. Also, the first 25 callers who mention promo code Health Matters will receive 10% off of your treatment program. So call 775-842-0065 to boost your energy and start losing weight today.
Have you been injured in an accident? Trust Adriana Guzman-Freilich at AGF Law, your local personal injury law firm in Reno. At AGF Law, we pride ourselves on being honest, hardworking, and ethical. Let's meet in person to understand your case and fight for your rights. Located near South Virginia and Plum, we're always ready to help. Don't navigate the aftermath of an accident alone. Call Adriana at 775-453-9595 or visit adrianalegal.com. Your recovery is our priority, and we're committed to getting you the justice you deserve.
The 12th Annual Carson City Kiwanis Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Golf Tournament and Bench Press Competition will be held a month earlier than usual. It'll be on Saturday, August 16th at 8 a.m. at the beautiful Silver Oak Golf Course. Mark your calendar so you don't miss it. There's always a large crowd. The Carson City Bench Press Championship will also be held on the patio of Silver Oak. It will be held between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. with both men and women categories with many age groups. Remember, 1 month earlier, and there is always a big crowd, so be there.
Are you shy and don't want to talk on the air? Text us your questions or comments to 775-237-2266. Now back to the show.
All right, folks, we're back with America Matters. I'm Leo Zacky with Eddie Floyd and Shannon Lawson. And, we were just talking about crooked politicians, insider trading. But now I wanted to move on and talk a little bit more about, food.
Rude. I'm so glad you said that because, I think a lot of people took it wrong yesterday because you and I both, we weren't saying that Trump's trying to bully Europe to buy U.S. food. They're saying that you need to absolutely make sure what you're putting in your body is healthy.
Right. And genetically modified food, hormone-packed beef, trade fights and Trump, quote unquote, trying to bully Europe. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a bad plot from a political satire, but
right,
it's very real, and it could impact your food, your health, and global trade. But before we unpack all this, that sums up a lot of public frustration around what's happening with U.S. food and exports and the Trump administration stance. So, let's roll that tape real quick.
Okay.
Why is President Trump trying to bully Europe into taking genetically modified food? It sounds too stupid and evil to be true, but that's exactly what he's doing. This is his recent post complaining about non-tariff cheating, in which one of them says, protective agricultural standards, example, no genetically engineered corn in the EU. And since on our side in the Republican Party we don't have that many journalists, most people are just, I professionally lick dirt off Trump's shoes and say it's Willy Wonka's chocolate. People that seem only capable of making fun of the dumbest liberal they could find on TikTok, knowing that they'll lose Mar-a-Lago access if they ever do their job to provide a single ounce of value to the American people. Yeah, they're not covering this. But I showed you a few weeks ago too, the Trump administration's Howard Lutnick wants Europe to take our big, beautiful beef pumped up with all sorts of hormones that people in Europe and in America don't even want.
I mean, the European Union won't take chicken from America. They won't take lobsters from America. They hate our beef because our beef is beautiful and theirs is weak.
When Trump picked Bobby Kennedy, it was exciting to think that we were going to make America healthy again. That means organic crops, less pesticides or no pesticides, and improving our food quality. We didn't vote for the father of the vaccine, Donald Trump, to try to poison Europeans with the trash food we don't even want here. Everybody from all over the world notices, even though they love America, when they visit here, they gain weight rapidly, and when they go to other countries, they get healthier and lose weight. And not only is it evil what the Trump administration's doing, it's actually embarrassing. Biden is so evil and corrupt that so many people in America just hope the Republican Party is actually a lot better. In some ways, they are better, of course, but our side should be holding our side accountable. And the problem is most people don't want to do that. Let me know what you think in the comment section.
So, now, instead of just echoing what we just heard,
Well,
I want to... Yeah.
I got a text that just came in, okay? And I think you'll like it. It's Jim Tosserberg. And Jim writes in from Ohio, and he said, Eddie, did I hear Leo or you say yesterday that most of the problem is the fact that just about all of our animals eat Monsanto corn? And Monsanto, to me, is one of the biggest villains when it comes to, if you will, food that is dangerous.
Absolutely. I mean, that's one part of the equation, no doubt about that. I mean, there's so much poison in our food, and that's what we've been talking about. But we're not really seeing any rollbacks. I mean, finally they're getting rid of all these like petrochemical dyes.
Right.
I'll take that step in the right direction. But I mean, how embarrassing is that, though? Think about it, that we have to ban petrochemical dyes for food dyes. Like that's disgusting.
Yep.
But look, the same entity that approved it safe for human consumption is now repealing it and saying it's not safe for human consumption. Okay.
Wow.
That's the key part that everybody thinks. They don't think that part through. Okay.
That's right.
Only reason this poison is in our food is because the same people who are now taking it out of our food are the ones that said it can be in our food, because they really don't know what they're doing, because it's all about money and they don't care about you or your health or your family's health. So instead of just echoing what we just heard, I wanted to take this a step further. Let's get into the background,
Okay.
the real
Please.
trade policies and some of the moves being made behind the scenes, stuff that didn't make it into the clip. So this isn't new. The U.S. and the EU have been locked in a decades-long beef battle, over food standards. And so back to the 1998 beef hormone ban, the World Trade Organization sided with the U.S., but the EU didn't back down, arguing it was about public health and not trade.
Wow,
what a concept.
Unbelievable.
Europeans putting their health first. So the U.S. retaliated with tariffs, and fast forward to now, and we're still fighting the same war, just on a different battlefield. So the EU follows something called precautionary principle, which means if we're not 100% sure it's safe, we don't allow it.
Right. And, Sheriff Gerald Antonoro wrote in on our show and said, it's all about the money. I want to tell both of you, look at how the USDA and the FDA came to be in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Well, look, I was a board member of the California Poultry Federation for literally a decade, and I got to meet with these folks, and I'm telling you, they don't care, because, as I said, in Europe, they go with, if we're not 100% sure it's safe, we don't go with it. Whereas here in the U.S., it's like, it's okay until proven otherwise.
Wow.
So I'm not a fan of that one when it comes to health. So that's why the EU has blocked, a bunch of U.S. imports, GMOs, hormone-fed beef, chlorinated chicken, and even some pesticides that we still use here. So Trump's trade team recently released a report complaining about the EU non-tariff barriers. And so the translation of that, is, the rules that aren't taxes but still block our exports. And so now he's pushing for reciprocal tariffs, essentially saying, if you don't buy our beef, maybe we won't buy your cheese. Well, we already we can't have non-pasteurized cheese here in the United States, which I don't like that at all, because the French and many European countries make a lot of that stuff. And it's fantastic, by the way. It's fantastic. But if I fly home with it, I can get in trouble.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Mm-hmm. It's bogus like that. So the U.S. is also lobbying the EU to relax its farm to fork strategy, which aims to increase organic farming and reduce pesticide use, which I totally disagree with. And American trade officials and lobbyists see that as a threat to U.S. ag exports. Well, how about here's the real threat is that Monsanto and Bayer and all these big, pesticide and pharmaceutical companies, they're the ones that are going to be losing out on profits. That's how they
Right.
because they own the genetic rights to those crops. And by the way, if you didn't know this, if a farmer has organic corn and next to that farm is a farmer growing GMO corn, and that GMO corn pollinates that organic corn, it changes the genome, makes it GMO corn, and now that farmer that had the organic corn has to pay the company that owns the genetic rights to that for that seed crop, even though they didn't buy it from them because
Wow.
it's cross-pollinated. There's all sorts of messed up stuff like that. It's so evil what's going on in that.
Right. Right.
So, and there's a couple things that the clip also didn't mention, like the influence campaign. So, during his first term, Trump's team actively worked to undermine the EU's environmental food policy by funding studies and think tanks to discredit organic farming. It's not illegal, but it's definitely shady and something I'm not fond of.
Right.
Then there's the corporate pressures that were going on behind the scenes, and their push is for major ag corporations and companies that manufacture those GM seeds, like I mentioned, and the hormone treatments that have huge lobbying power and stand to gain billions if Europe caves. And that's what it's all about. It's all about money, because there are so many of our politicians that are getting money from big pharma and big ag. And don't get me wrong, I like ag, but I don't like when ag is putting profits over health and safety.
Right.
And so there's public backlash. Ironically, many Americans also don't want this kind of food. I'm not alone in this thought process. I'm pretty sure you feel the same way, folks.
Yeah.
So,
Matter of fact, Gerald Antonoro just said, change the way we farm and the world will be a lot safer. No GMOs, no hormones, and no bastardization of farmed goods.
I
And
100% agree. Thanks.
we agree with you, Sheriff. By the way, you received one text that said, I loved your topic on the poisons that are being put in our food and in our water. Could we continue on with this either Friday or Monday, Leo?
Absolutely. We'll definitely talk more about this stuff. It's important. This is why we were so excited for Bobby Kennedy, RFK Jr., to get into the spot he's in. I'm still waiting for more results. Call me impatient, but I'm waiting. But this is why my water plan here in California is going to allow us to have more organic food. And I will hold California to a far higher standard than the U.S. when it comes to what organic means and what organic crops are and what pesticides and poisons can and cannot be used here in California. So with that, we're out of time. I'm Leo Zacky with Eddie Floyd and Shannon Lawson. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll talk more about this later, all right? Have a great rest of your day, folks.
Leo, let me know if we're going to do it Friday or Monday.